It'll be really scary. You can't just like talk about it. We realize yeah, 11.
11.
Did you have your baby?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
What a special.
Wow.
Ethan, Callie, Bruce's baby.
Yeah, so many 3 birthdays right there.
Wait, when were you born? Like today? Yeah.
10:30 last night.
Oh, that's okay.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
wow. Yeah, that is it.
Well, yeah, he saw the baby. He's like, shit.
Wow. People have done remote for lesser reasons, Goose. You could have done remote. Wow. All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So on Saturday, we looked at MySQL connection with our front end, and then we looked at handlebars. Handlebars are a better way instead of writing the whole HTML in our Node.js files, right? So before we proceed, well, let's start with a quick warm-up activity, and this is on handlebars, and we'll just do it together. This is exercise number 6. So open the unsolved one, kind of follow through, make sure you understand everything, and let me know if there are any questions. After that, we will kind of make some couple of full stack apps. We'll be using MySQL, handlebars, middleware, Express, Node, the whole thing. Okay, we have a couple of activities. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be live coding, but I'm going to be doing not a lot of copy pasting, but some of the stuff that we already know. Okay, if you guys want to do the same thing, it's okay. The only important thing is you understand each line, that you understand those lines that you're copy pasting. Okay, we'll start with this one and you'll see what lines am I talking. These are just configuration lines. Okay, the real code I'm still going to write everything out, and you guys will complete the activities as well. Okay, so let's start with exercise number 6. So this one uses handlebars, of course. So you already have a server.js. If you open your unsolved folder, you will see that handlebars folder structure is already there. So you have a starter file which already has views, okay? And then if you open up views, we will see we have layouts folder, okay? Again, why is this necessary? Handlebars is a opinionated framework, and they want you to follow a certain folder structure. Okay, that's where the code is looking for the main files. So the code starts from your views folder, and within views you have a layouts folder. Okay, and then within layouts you have a file called main.handlebars. Okay, this is the main file. This is the first file. Whatever HTML is in this file is the first one that shows up on your web page. Okay, always. Now within your main file, you are going to have this syntax. Again, this is not HTML. We understand that this is something different. This is part of handlebars. So when it's your HTML processes, it doesn't know what these three curly braces do. But since we are including handlebars in our Node.js, HTML, when you go to your Chrome, right click and inspect, you will see that this is being replaced with actual HTML. Okay, now from here, three curly braces are important, and then within them the word body. It has to be body. If you change it to something else, it's not going to render anything. Okay, so what is handlebars? It's a template engine. What does it do? You are creating basically a template somewhere else, and all the code that is there is going to, on runtime, it's going to come over here and embed itself over here. Okay, so basically you're creating a template and then you're going to put something inside this template. Okay, three curly braces means it is going to render the HTML. All right, so anything within this, whatever the body variable has, this is going to be rendered as a HTML. Okay, two braces means it's a variable is going to be evaluated to a certain value. All right, that's the difference. So main is already done for you. You don't have to do it. Just make sure you understand. All right. And then we have two other handlebar files which are outside the layouts folder. Okay, layouts only has main. These are the files. These are the files that are going to come in and embed themselves over here eventually, somehow from our code. Okay, that's what these are. One is called dog handlebars and index. Both of them are empty, so we'll have to put some code based on the comments over here. Okay, let's move on to our server.js. Server.js starts with importing our express and handlebars. We don't have MySQL here, so that's why this is not being imported. Initializing the express, setting the port number. These two lines are telling express that I'm using a template engine, and the template engine that I'm using is handlebars. All right, so that this way your express knows how to deal with this template engine. All right, this line over here is saying that the starting point for my handlebars app is main.handlebars. Right, this is by default. If you remove this, it will still work as long as the file is called main. Okay, if you change this main to, let's say, index.handlebars, then you have to go over here, put this in, and change this to that file. Okay, so you can keep this, you can remove it. As long as your main file is called main.handlebars, it's going to work. Okay, so these are the two lines you don't need to remember the syntax, but you absolutely need to know what they're doing. So these are some of the things that in the next exercises we'll be just copy pasting, because I understand what these are doing. If you want to get into the habit, then you can keep typing this out, kind of get into that mode so that it becomes second nature, but as long as you understand what's going on. Okay, next up looks like an array of animal objects. All right, looks like there's three properties: animal type, pet, and fierceness. First one is a string, boolean, number. Okay, so this is an array of animals. Looks like we have three different routes. The first is /dog, /all pets, and /all non-pets. Okay, and then our app.listen, so that our server starts. All right. Any questions on the layouts? Anything related to handlebars before we start coding this one? Yes.
How widely used is handlebars? Is it like super common?
Why did they what?
How widely used is handlebars?
Oh, as I mentioned on Saturday, I have not seen a production app that uses handlebars. But the reason, remember, we are studying is the concept over here is really popular with any popular framework such as React, Angular, Vue.js. They all use template engines that are built in. As long as you understand the concept, as long as you understand what's going on, why do I have those curly braces and all that stuff, how to use it, it'll be a little bit easier to understand when you learn React, or if you learn Angular, Vue, or any of the popular framework. Okay, this is the one that we are using right now because it's easy to set up. You see, you just have to import and that's it. With React and Angular, you have to go through certain steps and set up the whole app. It's a little bit more cumbersome. This is easy, and so that we can jump into the concepts and understand what's going on. What is a template engine? Okay, that's why. Any other questions? All right. So, so you already have a package JSON. Looks like all the dependencies are there, so we can install this. I'm going to open this in a new terminal because I'm going to use NodeMon, and it will be just easier for me to have some real estate so you guys can see what's going on. Open new terminal. All right. Unsolved. Since I already have npm package.json, you can do a npm I, and it should install everything. Npm I. All right. So my installation is done. Looks like everything is good. Oh, look at this. One package is looking for funding. You see how sneaky they put this in? Wow. So if you want to contribute, you can find out which package out of 159 needs funding. Oh, there's a command npm fund to find out. Okay. Now I'm going to find out. I don't know why I want to do this. Let's see. Global glob at 7.16. We'll see what that is. All right. Let's start our app. Okay, looks like it's running. If you open this app, of course, nothing runs because we don't have the route set up, and we'll go ahead and set up those routes. We'll start with the first one. Okay. All right. I want you guys to kind of follow along and kind of do the activity so that the next ones are familiar for you guys. Okay. All right. So what do we have to do? We have to pass in. We're going to complete this route, and what is this route asking? That once somebody comes to /dogs, it should return the first. It should return the dog object. Okay. And if you look at the array, that's like the first element of the array. Okay, so you would just access this animals array at the first index, and that's going to give you the dog object. All right. Since we are using handlebars, the function we need to use is render, right? So res dot render, and then the first argument is going to be the file, right? The handlebar file. And if you look at over here, it should be dog.handlebar. Even though this is empty right now, I need to fill this up, but that's the file that I want to render my page. Okay, and then the second argument is always a object, right? Now it's easy. I can pass in my animals array with the first index, and my dog object I should be able to pass that object. Okay. All right. So I have my dogs object over here, and this means that I'm going to get these three properties on my dogs page. All right. So what you can do, you can create a p tag, h1 tag, and then just output those values. Let's say p tags. Let's see what's the first property that I'm going to get is animal type. So you can say animal type, and then this is going to be 2 curly braces. Why? Because we're passing a value that is going to be evaluated. All right, and it has to match these properties exactly, right? Because I'm passing this object. All right, so this is going to be my animal type p tag. The second was pet, which is a boolean, which is indicating if this animal is a pet or not. Okay, and then fierceness. Still 2 curly braces because I'm outputting the value. Okay, so this should be good because I'm calling this page from my route, right? And I'm passing in an object. And what does that object has? It has three properties: animal type, pet, and fierceness. And this is how you can access those values. Okay, any questions? Everybody understand what's going on over here? Okay, so if you have this, if your server is running, if you go to /dogs, I should be able to see this new web page. So if I go to localhost, and this, it's not 3000, it's 8080. If you look at the exercise, they're running on port. That's okay. And then /dog. Is it dogs or dogs? Dog. And then I'm able to see these three properties. Okay, and again, I'm using NodeMon, so I don't have to refresh my server. It keeps restarting itself. Okay, all right, any questions on this one before we move on to the next route? All right, what does the next route do? Let's go back to the next route. Next route says it's called all-pets. And it is saying that you need to go through the array basically, and then find out from the array what are the animals that are pets. Okay, and how do you find this out? If you look at the array, there's a property called pet. It's true or it can be false. So the animals that have the property pet as true, this means they are pets. The ones that have false are not pets. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now how do you filter out from this array which animals are pets? What is it? And what? If statement, yeah, we need a if statement. Okay. But what else? We need to loop through it, right? If statement inside a loop. Why? Because we have this array. We are going to loop through. You have to loop through this array and then find out for the animals what the pets property is true. Okay, and then that's where your if condition would go. Okay, so let's go ahead and loop through it and find out this thing. For And I know, Goose, you were mentioning for in. I looked at the documentation and they recommended not to use for in for looping through an array. It's specifically for an object. That's what their official documentation say. It's apparently it works. The objection, they were saying that array is by index, and something that is on index 1, you should get it back at index 1. But when you loop through for in using that array, there's no guarantee that the return would be in an order that you have it in array. So that's why it's for objects and not to be used for array. Okay. All right. So we are looping through animals array, and we are trying to find out if this animal is pet or not. So this is where our if condition comes in. Oops. Okay, so if let's say animals I dot pet. Okay, this means if the animal is pet, that's what I want. Okay, now what do I have to do once I find out that animal is a pet? Any other idea? What do I do? What is it? You're right, exactly. Because I have more than one animals which are pet, I need to collect them first, right? So create a new array, and this array would only have the animals which are pets. Okay, this is the array which has animals which are both pets and non-pets. So we need to create a new array which will only contain animals which are pet, and that's the one you would send it to your page. Okay, so let's create a new array called pets. Let's call it pets array. Okay, and then pets array dot push animals I. Okay, if the condition is true, this means this animal is a pet, and then you go ahead and put it to the new array that you want. Okay, any questions? Everybody understands the algorithm? All right, so next we need to send it to our page. And which page are we sending this time? We are sending it to index.handlebars. Okay, there are two pages over here. Dogs we have completed. The next one is index. Now we would do res.render. Okay, takes in two arguments. The first one is going to be the page that you want to send it to, which is index. And the second is an argument which has to be an object. Okay, but I have an array which is not an object, so what do I have to do? Wrap it around an object and send it. Okay, so you can say animals, let's call it pets, and then set this pets array to this property. Okay, again, remember, you can only pass an object, right? If this is not an object, what do you have to do? You have to wrap it around, put it inside an object, and then pass that into your handlebars render function. Okay, so when we get to the page, what are we going to get? We are going to get an array, and what's going to be the name of the array that index is going to receive? Pets, not pets array. It's going to be pets. Why? Your index is going to receive this property, not this. This is the value that you are setting over here, but what you're sending is this keyword. That's the one that your index page is going to receive, pets. Okay, so you're going to use pets, and then we're going to loop through this array in our index.handlebars, and then just do a p tags or li or something, and then show each one of the pets. All right, so let's go to our index page now. So we are receiving an array. Let's just show a list that the same thing that we did last on Saturday. We'll do an unordered list and then loop through it and then show a bunch of LIs. Okay. Remember, how do we loop in handlebars? It's called the hash each function. Okay. And then hash each function, you need to pass in the array. And what's the name of the array? Pets, right? Why is it pets? Because I'm passing this property, which is going to be this array. So I need to refer it to the same name. Okay. And then your each ends with /each. Okay, so now I have an array that I'm looping through, and what do I need to do in this loop? Let's create some li tags and then output those properties. Okay, so I said animal type. Okay, and same thing as your previous page is going to be animal type, and then write another. This is going to be pet property, and this should always be true because we are only sending animals which are pets. What did I do? Wrong place. And then the last one is going to be our fears. Yes. Pearson's property. Okay. Looping through pets, showing each one of these properties. Now if you go back to the page and then let's refresh this. Okay, this is still working. This time if I change this to, what is it called? It's called all-pets. All-pets. And it shows me two animals which are pets, and you see both of these properties are true. Okay, now please note I did not go to /index, right? Again, why? Because there is no route which is called slash index. If you try to do it, Express is going to say, oh, there's no route slash index. I don't know what to do. Okay, the route is all dash pets. That's why you will go over there. Now within this, we are referring and we are sending it to index page. That's different. Okay, but we don't have a route called index, so we cannot actually go to that page. Okay, you have to go to all pets. These are the only routes that are available. Okay, even if you remove anything and if you just go to your root route, it's going to give you an error because I have not defined a root route. Okay, let's go back to our all pets, and this is, I see the pets, and then these are over here. All right, any questions? Is everybody able to do this? Are you guys able to see the values? Any error issues? Okay, what's the error? Oh, so it's maybe stuck in an infinite loop. Okay. Which route are you doing? The slash dog or the pets? Or pets, okay. So you have a for loop. Okay. Okay. Anything different? All right. Anybody else having issues? So I don't want to proceed until, I mean, this was a activity, so we are doing it together. So I want to make sure that everybody is able to do this one. Otherwise, the next ones are going to be a little bit more challenging. That's why I want to make sure. Which one? Who's saying?
Okay,
Oh, I can hear, but I don't know who's talking. The index file. Okay. So this is, we are using the for loop that is in handlebars. All right. What they do is they use the each. Each is basically a for loop. Okay. So you're looping through the array and then outputting whatever the values are in this pets array. Good. Okay, we'll just give a couple of more minutes. In the meantime, if you are done with this, take a look at the next one, all non-pets, and see if you can solve this on your own. So this time you are trying to show if somebody goes to this route, they should see all non-pets. And how do we tell they are non-pets? The same value, the Boolean pet value should be false. Okay, so similarly, how we did for all pets, this time you're going to find all non-pets and solve them. What was the issue? Oh, okay. You're not using NodeMon? Oh, okay. Okay. What is it? You can use NodeMon in the terminal. I'm not using it because then it takes up half my screen, and then I don't. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's this is same as this. Oh no. I'm doing it because I'm trying to save some space, and then I don't have to stop, and so I don't really need a terminal running over here. I'm just getting some more space. Yeah, you can run it in your same thing. Yeah.
But even with like NodeMon is really good, like for stuff like this where it's constantly including, but I would say if you were having some kind of issue,
Yeah.
first thing you should still do is like close your server and start it again.
Right. So right. And NodeMon, here's a good thing. You can restart. Just say rs and enter. Is going to stop and restart the server. Rs. Yeah. How cool is that? You don't have to like Control C. Just do rs. Enter. Is going to stop and restart the server. If that doesn't work, then yeah, shut it down and do it. But I think I've had success with rs. So yeah. All right, is everybody good until the 2-1? Any questions on the first two? Okay, let's take 5 minutes. I want you guys to complete this one. Same code, it's just you are inverting. Okay? And interesting part is you're using the same index or handlebar, so you don't even have to change any code over here. This time it's going to show you all the pets which are false. All you need is loop through it, instead of true, find the false one. All right. Any questions? Um, still working on it? Yeah, just this route. Yeah. I'm going to leave it as it is. It's the same thing, just flip this to false.
It's not the same.
It's not? You can just literally copy paste this whole thing and just flip this to not. No?
Yeah. That is showing. Yeah. It's changed the name of the array. False.
Oh, because of this is a pets array. Oh, I see. Okay. It should be non-pets array. No, okay. Yeah. What does JavaScript know? We can send it pets array. We know that it's non-pets.
It's the OCD.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this needs to be wrong. He obviously didn't like my notes.
Ethan, are we close? Ethan, are we close? Oh, okay, okay. All right. All right, so we can figure out node mod, but any questions on the activity before we proceed? All right. So next activity and the one you guys will have an activity later on. Don't try to code this one. Okay, just take good notes and see how I'm doing this activity, because the next you guys have exactly the same activity that you guys are going to solve. Different use case, but very similar. Okay, so just make sure you understand how I am solving this one. The next one is going to be very similar. Okay, just take good notes and see what do I have to do first and why am I doing those things. Okay, the thing is, if you are following along, many times you kind of get left behind and you're not sure what's going on. So this time, just look at this one. The next activity is going to be very similar to this one. All right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create an app for all right, so I'm going to create an app called Task Saver. All right, what does the app do? It's simple app. It shows you all the tasks for the day, what you have to do. You can list all the tasks, and then you can add new tasks. Okay, simple interface. All right, it will list all the tasks that you have to do, and then it will also give you a form where you can enter the task that you have to do, and it will add that task. Okay. Now, what does this app? It's going to have a front end. No Bootstrap will make it simple, okay? But it's going to have front end. It's going to have handlebars. It's going to have MySQL as well. All right. It's going to go from the front back to your back end and then take the data from back end and bring it back. Okay. Simple app, but it is going to cover the full stack in this one. All right. Let's call. I'm going to call it task saver. Okay. Let me copy the package and SQL. Copy it. Okay. That's not good. Okay, no worries. Let me copy my package and a SQL file. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I have a package JSON and it will just let me install all these dependencies at the same time. That's why I have this package JSON. The SQL, really quickly, let's go over it. So I'm going to create a database, all right, task saver. It has two columns, task ID and a task. Task is a string and your task ID is an integer with auto increment, so it's going to keep incrementing something. Okay, for example, these are the tasks that are going to be inserted in my database. Okay, so I'm going to create this schema. I'm going to create this database in my MySQL, and then I'm going to, oh no, what is this? Is there something new? Interesting. Okay, I am simply, now before you ask, there is an extension that I'm using in my in Visual Studio that lets you connect over here, and then you don't have to open MySQL Workbench, but you can do the exact same thing you guys know in the MySQL Workbench. Okay, so I have a database created and we'll test it out, which has these three rows in it. Okay, so I have my database created, and now I can move on to creating my server file. All right, so server .js. All right. Oh, it's outside. No, that's not good. Okay. All right. Let's copy paste a few things. So the first three, I'm importing all the three Express handlebars, and MySQL because that's what I'm going to be using. Initialize the app using Express, okay, and then set the port number. All right. This is required for Heroku. Otherwise, we have to run on our port number 3000. Okay. Next two lines. Anybody remember what these do? Why are these required? What is it? Returns. So this is required when you do a post request. Okay. Remember, if you're doing a get request, they work, but if you don't have these two lines included, your post request is not going to work. Okay. So that's why we need these two lines over here. Okay. The next two lines, we have our app engine. Okay. Everybody understand this? We are going to be using handlebar, so that's why we need to do this. All right, just to show you guys that this works without this, I'll remove this and I'll create a main.handlebars by default. All right. Let's go ahead and make our connection and then create our connection config. Okay. Again, very same thing that we have been doing, creating a MySQL connection, localhost, port number, password, user, and database. Okay. And then the last part, well, second last, we need to connect to our database. So we will call our connect method, takes an argument as a callback function. Okay. Throw error. Otherwise, we are connected to our database with this ID. All right. Same thing. The last thing which remains, which is What's the last thing I need here? App.listen. So I need my server to start listening. Okay? So it's going to start listening on this port number. Okay? This is basically our, you can say like a boilerplate code. For every activity that we've been doing, we are kind of using the same thing. Okay? As long as you understand what each one of them does, it's okay. If you're comfortable, you can copy paste or you can start typing the whole thing in the next activity. Okay, but that's what we did. Okay, let's make sure this is running. So we will go ahead and install the dependencies and then make sure that our server and our database connection is good. Okay. npm I, again, because I have my package JSON over there, so it should install all the 3 dependencies. All right, clear this out. Let's run this. Nodemon server. Okay, my Express server is also good because it's listening, and my database connection and everything is good too because I'm getting an ID back, which means I'm able to successfully connect to my database. Okay. All right. Let's start with our. Just let's stub out our handlebars folder structure so that we can come back to it. So starts with views. So let's go ahead and create our views folder. Views. Okay, and then within views, I'm going to have layouts. Okay, and within, what did I do? Views folder layouts. Okay, and then within layouts, I'm going to have main dot handlebars. Okay, let's stub this out. Just a HTML page. Let's call it task saver. And then the only thing we need over here is our 3 curly braces. And then remember, you need a space in between. If you don't put a space, it's not going to render. It's kind of weird, but that's how it works. Okay, so my main handlebars is done. I don't have to come back and do anything over here, so I'm just going to close it. It's there. Okay, any page that I add, it's going to be outside the layouts. Since we are going to be showing our task, so let's create a task dot handlebars. Okay, and page. We'll come back and fill this out in a little bit. Okay, so my handlebar structure is done exactly how they asked, and this should be good. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is, since if you go back to our localhost 3000, what's going to happen is going to give me an error. Why? Because I don't have this route created. So let's go ahead and create this route. What does this route do? It should go back to the database, get all my tasks that are in the database, show them in an HTML page, which is going to be my task.handlebars. Okay, that's what I want to do. So let's go ahead and create our get route. I'm going to minimize these so that kind of bother less. Okay. Dollar dot, oh sorry, this is not jQuery, so app.get. Okay, I'm going to be writing the route for slash, right, my root route. To function, callback function requires request and response, or rec and res for short. Okay. So what do I need to do? I need to connect to my database and get all the rows. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our query SQL. This is going to be select star from tasks. Okay, let's call our connection.query function. The first argument is going to be my query. The second argument is a callback function. Okay, and the callback function has 2 arguments, error and results. Okay, if there is any error, I don't want to proceed, so you can throw error and stop the execution. If this is good, what do I need to do? Res.render, right? And what page am I calling? I'm calling the page that I just created task, and then I'm passing this results. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to pass in the whole array, right? Since this is an array, it has to be wrapped around an object. Okay, let's call this object property task, and then I'm going to pass in the results that I come back from my database. Task. Let's start. Okay. All right. It's kind of similar thing that we did in the previous. This time we have our database. We are connecting to our database. We are running the select query. It should get all the rows. Select query returns a result, which is going to be an array. I'm going to wrap it around with task, and then send it to my task.handlebars. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill out this. So I'm going to be receiving an array. Same thing as the previous one. We will loop through our task array and then show all these properties. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a web page. We want to make it a little bit nicer. Let's say task saver. Okay, this is our top. Let's create this. Save the tasks need to get done. Okay. So I'm going to be receiving the task array. Let's go ahead and create our list. Okay. We will loop through this using our hash each, and the array is going to be tasks. Let's end our each loop. Okay. Within this, same as previous one, let's create some LIs, p tags. Let's output the ID. Okay, and in my database, what's the property? It's called task underscore ID. So this is going to be task underscore ID. Okay, and then p task, and this is going to be my column name for task is task. Okay, so it's going to return me the property task. Oops. Okay, same thing that we did in the previous one. So this time I'm passing my array. This is going to results. So results is going to have an array of my table. My table has two columns, task underscore ID, and then just the word task. Okay. Did I start this? Yes. Okay. Since I made, sometime it doesn't start if you do the handlebars. I'm just going to make sure we start this. And then now if I refresh this, if the connection, everything is working, it should show me all the results from my database. Okay. Let's go back here. Any questions before I complete the next part? Yes.
When we're calling object, like, why do we ever have to, why can't we just create that object on the fly?
Which object? Which line?
Yeah.
This one?
So, like, wait, sorry, we threw that one already, not this.
Yeah, this is an object, and the task is a property inside that object.
So not that one, like, for the pets one, when it was an array, we made it an object?
Yeah, this is also an array. Remember, results is an array. So we cannot pass this array to our second argument because second argument has to be an object. So how do you pass that array? You have to wrap it around in an object. Basically, what this means is you are saying const tasks
but why do we have to
Declare which part?
the object?
The object, because your render function only takes the second argument has to be an object.
No, I know that.
Okay.
How can you, like, so how you did the tasks
Okay.
and made it an object?
Yes.
Like, how come we don't just declare it in here, we just make it up in that?
Oh, again, this is kind of shortcut that we are using. Either, I mean, this is the same as you're passing an object, right? Either, if that makes more clear to you, use this thing. But eventually you will learn that this is kind of redundant. You could just copy this thing and put it over here. It serves the same purpose.
I guess I don't, like, we don't have to declare it. Like we do everything else, like how you use the shorthand.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is shorthand, but if you're not used to it, go ahead and create. I mean, you see over here, I'm actually creating a variable and pass. Do I have to do it? No, I can just copy this and put it over here, right? But I'm kind of more used to it because I want my function, this line, to be shorter. As the string becomes bigger, I won't be able to fit everything. So what I tend to do is I want to create a string on the top. It's just the convention that I follow. But eventually, I mean, if this makes sense to you, go for it, right? Eventually, you will come to a point, you will be like, all right, this is kind of, I could just do this. That's all. But both of them should work. This also works. Okay, I refreshed it. Trust me. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, I actually was wondering the same thing yesterday, so what she's saying, like, we don't have to declare the object. Like,
This thing. Oh, you how would you pass in there?
well, we normally, before everything is happening, we say, like, tasks and, equal on here, we actually pass it on the fly.
Okay. All right. Help me out here. Let me know exactly what code. Okay. Okay. So what code am I going to write? Maybe that will make me understand better. So tell me exactly what do I have to type in. Tell me the code that you are thinking and I'll write it out. Maybe that will help me understand why do we need.
Because looking at it like that, I was thinking like, this looks like a variable to me, but it's actually not a variable. This is a key and pair, so that it doesn't have to be declared. She was saying that we will normally declare, so that's what the same purpose.
So where is the confusion? This one?
Yeah.
So this is an object. Remember, an object has a property and a value. You cannot have,
Yes.
right? So you can call it pass, array, whatever you want to call, whatever. If you think this is,
But it's still the property or key,
yes, you need to have that. Instead of what?
It's not a variable.
No, it's a property inside that object. Okay. Is there any other way you think we can pass in? Right. So if you are making an object, it is absolutely required that it has a property and it has a value. There's no other way you can create an object. Well, you can use a constructor, but eventually it's going to come down to the same thing. What did I have this? Tasks. Let's make sure this is still working. Okay. All right. Is it clear?
I think that, I think the kind of question is based on, like, it's almost like an anonymous object when you pass it in line, right? I think that's what they're saying is, like, you have not defined that object if you're doing it on the same line as the rest render. You're just wrapping it. So here you said, I have an object called tasks. Whereas if you do it inline, you're basically just wrapping it in an unnamed object, right? So I think that was the confusion.
Okay.
Did I capture that?
Yeah, I think
Okay. But again, if this is what helps you, it's the same code. Please go ahead and follow this convention. As you code more, eventually you'll come to the point where you will be like, okay, I can do it. But whatever amount of time that takes or anything, this is fine. Both of them will work. Okay. Again, you can see I'm using this thing. It's not necessary, but I still do it. Right. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So now we are going to move on to the post request. I'm able to see, I'm able to retrieve everything from my database, right? How do I add a new task to my database? What do I need for it? A post request, right? Get requests are getting the data from the database. Post requests are for creating a new row in the database. Okay, so before we can create a post request, I'm going to create a HTML with a form, right? A form would be simple. It will say, hey, put in the task, and then whatever task they put in, I'm going to make a post request and save that to my database. Okay, so let's go back to our task handlebar and create a form. Again, no, I'm not using any fancy bootstrap, just a simple form. Okay, we'll do some text area. We'll say this is of type text. Oops. Okay, and let's give it a name, text area. Okay, do I need a form for my ID? No. Why? Because the ID is going to be automatically added in my database. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a submit button. Okay, type submit, and then just say submit. Oops. Okay, let's go back here, and here's my form, which says it doesn't say anything actually. So let's say is to add a task. Okay, so I have created a simple form at the bottom, which is going to act, and whatever I type in over here, I press submit. I want to take that task and put it in my database. Okay, so I have a simple form. Now, we did this before. I'm going to kind of show it again. Remember this form, HTML form, you have an action property in HTML form. This action property, you can put in the URL that you want this data to be sent at. Okay, and then they also have a second property called method, where you can say what HTTP method are we going to be using. Okay, so I'm not creating a JavaScript $.submit or anything, since my form already supports this thing. It's a relatively simple data that I want to insert. I'm going to use the HTML form method. Okay, remember action defines the URL without the HTTP thing, your route. Basically, what route are you trying to access over here? Okay, I don't have the post route, so let's go ahead and create that, and then we'll switch back to that. So I'm going to say app dot this time post. Okay, and my route is still going to be slash, right? I can have, remember, we can have the same as long as your HTTP methods are different. Okay, so this is okay, this is a post, this also. What I cannot do, I cannot have this route because I have already created one. I cannot have the same one again because both the HTTP method and the URL are the same. Okay, but I can have a post with the same name, and that's okay because I don't want to create, there's no reason to create a separate route. Okay, let's just start this out. Okay, so when somebody creates this submit button, I want the form to make a post request to what URL? Slash. Okay, if my route was slash tasks, okay, then this becomes slash tasks. Okay, whatever the route is corresponding to this post request that you're trying to access. Okay, again, not necessary. We just have two routes. You don't have to add additional string to it. Okay, now before I proceed, any questions on this post request? I know you guys were confused before. Do you understand the HTML form? This is the built-in functionality in an HTML form. Okay, they have two attributes called action and method. In method, you specify what you're trying to do. I'm trying to do a post, and I'm trying to post it to this route. Does this post exist with this route? Yes, on my server. What am I going to do with it? We'll look at the code in a bit, but that's what my HTML does. Okay, so it's going to take my task and then send this task to my route. We'll see how do we extract that part out. Okay, any questions on the HTML? Does everybody understand how the form works? Okay, so let's get it back over here. Body.task. Okay. So what am I, where am I going to get this data in? When I do a post request, where is this data coming? In which variable is it going to be? In the request. And then is it going to be in params or body? Body. Post always has the data in the body. Okay, so we need to extract that out from our request and then body property. Let's go ahead and first write out a SQL query that we're going to be using, which is going to be insert into tasks set question mark, and we'll fill out the question mark. Oops. Okay. Const query param. This is going to be replaced by my question mark, whatever this is, and this is going to be an object or an array. An object. Again, why? Because I'm using the question mark and I'm saying insert into task set task is equal to something or whatever the column names are. Okay, so I need an object over here. Okay, and this object is going to consist of property which is called task. Why is it called task? What is it? Because it is excellent, because it is the name of my column in my database. Okay, if I go to my SQL schema, this is the column that I'm trying to insert. This is auto-generated, so I don't have to worry about it. So this column has to exactly match this name. Okay, now how do I retrieve from my request? It's going to be request dot body and then what? Why task? Why is it called task? Is what? So why is it so this is right. This is task because this corresponds to my column name. What does this correspond to? Where is why do I have to say task and not T? What is it? No. This is my res. When I do a res.render, that's when I need this task.handlebars. Inside there? Where? Excellent. This is why I have to call it task, because I'm creating a HTML form with a text area, my element, and I'm giving it a name called task. That's why I have to refer to this as task. If I name this T, then this becomes T. Okay? This name is coming from whatever the attribute name you're assigning this element to. Okay? All right, the first one is coming from database, the column name. This one is coming from my front end. You see both front end and back end. This is coming from my back end, which is my SQL database. This is coming from my handlebars file or my HTML or my front end. Okay? Again, this is what your browser, what your HTML is sending, and this is what your database column is. Any questions? Okay, so the next part is similar to the previous one. Just create your, just call the query function and then pass in my SQL query. Okay, and then my SQL prompts that I have created. What did I call them? Query prompts. Query param variable. Okay, this one over here, it's going to be an object, and then my callback function is going to return me two things: error and results. Okay, let's copy this error since it's going to be the same thing. Okay, if there's any error, throw that error. Okay, do I need to do res.render or anything over here? No, because I'm just inserting. I'm already on this page and I click submit. What I can do is I can just refresh the page. Okay. You might have seen this, you might not have the redirect. I don't know if you guys used it in your HTML at some point. What this is kind of same functionality that you have on your JavaScript in the front. What am I doing is I'm saying once this is completed, redirect this to my root page. Okay, what is it going to go to? Which route is it going to hit? Which one? The get, right? Excellent. So when I say res.redirect, it's going to route to this part over here. Okay, and what does this do? This goes to my database, get all the tasks, and show them on the screen again. So basically what am I doing is I'm refreshing my page to make sure that my new value comes up. Okay, so if I go back here, let's refresh. Oh no, something happened. Oh, it's crashing. All right. What am I? Oh, I have a. Don't need this. Okay. Let's go back here. Refresh. My tasks are there. And then if I add a task, I say submit. See, look at that. New task added. New task added. Okay, so I only have two routes: get and post. Get is getting all the data from my database, and post is inserting my database. Inserting into my database, I have my task.handlebars. This one shows the list, and this is a form that takes in the text input and shoves it into my database. All right, any questions?
So
Yes.
Can you exit like
Mhm.
the web page?
Right, my server is closed. Since you guys don't trust me, see, not working. I'm just kidding. And then I start again, and there are my tasks. Persistent, no arrays, no nothing in memory. This is the real deal. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Sarah, you had a question.
For the post request with tab, does it always want to be like where the request is coming
So it's I know what you're saying, but it goes the other way. You are going to create a path for post, and then your front end is going to then call that path. It goes the other way, that the server creates a path first, and it says, "Oh, this is the request. This is, if you are trying to post, do it like this," and then you will say, "Oh, okay, now I'm going to go and do it." But it's a simple, yeah. This should match this thing over here.
from?
Yes.
Where you want the information to come from.
Yes, exactly. Where you want your post request and all the information to come in. Yes. Okay, and this one is my get. Okay, so when this one, and when does this one kicks off? It's just when you type in localhost 3000, because that's your this thing, right? Slash. This is your root route. So that's why it comes over here. Any other questions? Somebody else also had a question. Yes, Josh.
If you wanted to be able to remove the task as well, you do the same thing.
You have to do what?
If you wanted to remove the task as well, like have a button to remove the task.
Yeah.
Then you do the same thing, just like.
Yeah. We'll get there. There is a whole exercise, and I'm going to show you how to remove the task also. Okay. For now, post and get. Okay, when we get to the delete task, we will be like, oh, why did I ask that? There's a whole exercise that we'll do it. We'll do update and we'll do delete as well. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Get, post. Do you guys understand this? Okay. So let's take a break at 8 o'clock. Come back. You guys will do the next activity. It is, I'm going to put this code over here so that you can refer. It's same thing. It just instead of task, you have to create a wish list. That's all. Okay. We'll start back at 8 o'clock. You hear that?
Oh, not yet. So I don't know if it was yesterday's better if they have the open.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we link into MySQL from here?
Oh, do you have the plugin installed?
No, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Go to the plugins.
Right here?
Yeah. Search for MySQL. It's by the guy called Juan.
You guys see that? You guys find it?
Juan Han?
Yeah. Install that extension. Okay, let's go back.
Here?
Yeah. Maybe you need to restart. Just close it out. Close all your Visual Studio. Is there nothing is open, right? The Visual Studio.
Close it.
Okay, yeah. Open this again. You should see a SQL tab. Did you get Disney Plus?
Yeah. I already watched Mandalorian.
I already watched it.
Yeah, I watched it on lunch and break today, then right before class I already finished it. It's pretty good.
Why didn't you see a?
I got it right here, MySQL.
Okay, you got it?
Is that every time?
Yeah, that's it. Open this up. So you create the plus sign.
This plus?
Oh, why do we have to? What is the add connection? Yeah, this one. Okay, so you will type in localhost. That's your database. Enter. What is it? My username. What are you calling root? Yeah. Root. And then your password for that one. Okay. Do you remember the port number? Is it 3306?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. Type in 3306. Yeah. Okay. Good. You just press enter. Escape. Okay. There you go. Open this up. And you should see your. Yes.
Yeah, you probably get me there.
Oh, there it is. You can expand this. No space. There you go.
Everything is. Now, do I have to reconnect every time, or?
No, you don't have to reconnect every time.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be there.
That's a lot easier than jumping back and forth. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm giving it to like Thursday.
Okay, yeah.
So I hope. I mean, it'll be awesome. But
That's the spirit.
yeah, I know. Yeah. Yep. Are you gonna get it? Disney Plus or?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it yet.
No. Yeah, we had because Heather has she has a Disney Movie Club membership.
Oh.
So we got instead of $6.99 a month, we got it for $4.99.
Oh.
$4.99 a month if you buy 3 years in advance.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh, I might as well just drop this.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a kid anyways.
Right.
We'll get the use out of it.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
So I forgot all about it, and then she sent me the pass and everything. Like,
Yeah, because it was like months in advance.
Yeah.
They would sign up, and today they release. Yeah, I know. Everybody at work was talking about it. Oh yeah, my wife is acting the password before the kids come back from school. Then I was setting it up. I was like,
I'm surprised it didn't crash. I know there's a lot of people on it
yeah,
today.
you know Disney has a really good IP. They have like some really top software engineers. They pay good money,
Yeah.
but you have to move to Orlando if you're fine. So they put good money and they hire like super top tier
Gotcha.
engineers over there.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty good though.
Okay.
I mean, are you? Well, obviously you're Avengers and all that, right?
Yeah.
So.
But
you know,
I've been hearing the show. I was like, okay, well, definitely something to check out. That's their main selling point. They keep.
Yeah. Because John Farbu and
Yeah.
Kevin Smith were on the whole team, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
between those two,
Yeah.
I didn't think they were gonna screw it
Oh,
up
no.
too much. Because out of all the new movies, I think
Yeah.
Rogue One's the best.
Right.
So
And then they took all the Avengers, everything from Netflix. Well, it's still there, but they're not
Yeah.
going to do it. So all your Daredevils and Jessica, everything
Yeah.
has been canceled now. Everything is going to
yeah, I mean it's got
come up here.
It's got everything.
Oh yeah. Do they have Daredevil and all that stuff too?
I didn't look too much. I just
Yeah, I
I
don't think
wanted
they
to The
have it.
Mandalorian and
Oh.
started watching.
Yeah. I don't think they have Daredevil. I think Netflix still has some rights.
No.
Yeah, they'll put the new season if they ever come out. Yeah, Netflix probably owns this piece. But yeah, they have Avengers movies. Put up Endgame. Is it? Or it's, I think it's already there. Or the Endgame is already there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much.
All three Iron Mans are there. Thor, I think is there.
I own them all anyway, so it don't matter. But
Yeah, I've also seen it. But,
I was just a little bummed because I would have binge watched The Mandalorian all.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it's only one episode right now.
Okay. I see. So it's like a weekly thing they're going to.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so it only shows chapter 1.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's good though. I mean,
Okay.
it plays pretty quick. So 40 minutes long, but
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Obviously, it's gonna take they're gonna do that slow start of
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on and try to get you.
Yeah, of course.
Incense burning or something. Oh, and it's like the future. Got some essential oils going. Still working. I just like that one right now. It looks like it's really there and kind of yeah. Dude, the color's awesome. No, but see, this is like a dark green. Yes, waiting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start working on activity number 8. It is called wishes. Same thing. What I had was for task. You guys are going to do the same thing for wishes. Basically, you're going to create a wishes database and then have the same columns that I have and insert. Okay, and exactly the same thing. This is activity number 8. So I'm going to leave my code over here. It's the same thing. It's just a different use case, but it's going to be the same thing. Okay? Exercise number 8. So start with creating a database, 2 columns, ID and text, similar to what I had. Insert some values, and then start working on the Node.js part, and then the handlebars.
So interesting how you have SQL query there where you did insert into with the set. It just
This one?
yeah, like on a yeah, because here they do values,
Uh-huh.
but you did the set with a question mark. So I was thinking like it just we were like paranoid about rewriting everything in the database, right? So if you don't put a where clause, but that's only when you're doing an update.
Right.
So I was thinking that this is like a shorthand to do sets rather than values. You can still just do like an insert into with a set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw, I was like, oh crap, is he gonna override?
Oh, no. I think it checks for that insert
Right.
keyword
Yeah,
for
yeah,
update. It's, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then probably also if it's on a per route instead of a post.
Yeah.
The other thing was, I don't know if you noticed in the example, like they do the this keyword inside
Yeah.
of it, but you don't need it.
You know, yeah. I don't know why they have that
Yeah.
extra thing. It's
Right.
not required.
It's not confusing enough already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was following along.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They throw this in there. You know.
That's what I was saying. Look at what I'm doing.
Right.
So Ethan reminded there's, if you look at the solution for this, you might see this dot task ID, some of the example, or this over here. Again, you can see this is not required. I don't know why they have over there just to confuse you guys. I don't know. Without the this also works. Huh? Yeah, so that's why I want you guys to complete this example so you can see it works without the this and everything is working. Yeah, yeah. It's calling the properties within this scope. That's what it's saying. Right. I mean, there I can see a use case for this. Maybe if your tasks were declared somewhere on the top, but in this case, this is fine. It's just confusing. Outside the layouts. For example, I had a file. If you look at the folder structure, I have main inside it. It doesn't have anything. It's just this thing, and that's all. Okay. and then you have to create your own another file outside. So you would call it wish.handlebars. That's the one that you're going to be calling. You're never going to call main from your code. All right. I know I mean, there isn't enough time to complete the activity, um, but will have to at least complete one more thing I need to cover. Any high level questions? I'm hoping you guys go back. This is the example I solved. I'm going to upload both of them. Go back and redo this activity. But when I was going through, any questions do you guys have before I proceed? Yes. Line number 44. This one? This one? Right? Line number 43, right? This is coming from where? Um, oh, this one? Oh, this is the your handlebars file name. So if I open my handlebars, I called it task.handlebars. So you would be calling it wish.handlebar. That's the one. So this is the HTML handlebars page name. Okay. All right, so let's stop this activity. I want to cover some very important concepts, and then I'm going to show you those concepts. Again, we have an activity for that as well. Again, there is less time, but make sure you understand the concept. Go back and read with these activities so that you are clear on that. Okay. Again, as before, please don't follow this activity that I'm going to do. Just make sure take down notes, and then there's a whole similar activity after this. Okay. All right. So if you notice, what are we doing? We are creating routes that are sending HTML back. Is that statement clear? Does everybody understand that every route that we have created is sending an HTML back? Okay. Right. We are not now. What we are going to look at is how do we send JSON back. I mean, we understand how do we send JSON back, but we are going to create APIs. These are not really the APIs. These are routes which are sending HTML back. I'm going to talk about APIs now, and the APIs means that we are sending some JSON data back. Right? That's the expectation from our APIs. Okay. So now before we get into the APIs that are we're going to build which send JSON data back, which are sending any data back, those are technically called REST APIs, REST. Okay, this is a technical term, and all those kind of APIs that I'm going to show you, I'm going to write those APIs that are returning JSON data, right? Those are technically called REST APIs, REST. Okay. Now, what is REST? REST stands for representational state transfer. Okay, representational state transfer. Right. Just to give you a quick overview, REST is more like a design pattern, like a architectural design. Okay. REST is a standard with some rules. There are 6 rules. If you create an APIs that follow all those 6 rules, you're going to call those APIs as REST APIs. Okay. Um, I will quickly show you. I'm not going to. It's not important to go over each rule because the APIs that we are creating are REST APIs. Most of the modern languages and what we are looking at, for example, Java, C Sharp, Node.js, they kind of conform to these standards, and the APIs that you create usually follow this. So that's why the APIs are called REST APIs, or you can call them RESTful APIs. Okay, but this is the thing, and then somebody you will hear people calling I'm going to create a RESTful API. Okay. Now these are the 6 constraints or standards that your API have to follow. You can take a look at it later on. Again, it's not important. The more important part is what is REST, right? It's a standard. It's a set of rules that that people have defined. And basically, if you create an API following those 6 rules, you can say my API is REST API. Okay. Now the APIs that we are going to be creating here, or the APIs that you are going to be using, the third-party APIs, all of them are called REST APIs. You kind of follow the standards. So any APIs that you are building is usually a REST API. Okay. But technically the name is REST. So if somebody asks you, oh, have you created RESTful APIs or REST APIs? This is what they're referring to. Okay, the APIs that we are going to be creating now, again, it's no different. We're going to create an API that returns JSON. Okay, so technically those are called REST APIs. So when I say, oh, create some REST APIs, this is what we are saying. I'm saying that, oh, you're going to create an API that is going to follow the standards. Remember the naming convention that we discussed on Saturday or last Thursday? Your APIs should be following certain naming conventions. It should have all those routes, and I'll go through them really quickly again. Okay, so those are called REST APIs or RESTful APIs. All right. So number one thing, when you are creating APIs, they should expose CRUD operations. Remember CRUD? Those when I talk about CRUD, what am I referring to? Create, read, update, delete. And what are those operations for? From the database. Okay. Now, any APIs that you create, they should you should be exposing a CRUD operation APIs. That you should have an API that you can create a row in your database, that you can read rows from your database, you can update rows in your database, and you can delete rows in your database. Okay. Now CRUD is your database. How do these translate to your HTTP request? What request does read follow? What is the HTTP request for read? A GET request. Okay. What about create? Post. What about update? It's not update. It's called put. What about delete? Delete is delete. Okay. So when we say that your API should be following the CRUD operation, this means you should have, by standard, when you're doing your projects, your homework, you have to make sure that you have these APIs. Even if you're using it or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. Make sure you have APIs that have a post request, that have get, that have put, and that have delete. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So let's start with the get API. Okay. So the example that I'm going to be doing is it's kind of similar to the task example. It's just a little bit changed that I'm creating a day planner. Same thing. Let me show you my database. I have a database called Day Planner. It has a plan ID and plan, which is just a just a text that is going to output saying, oh, what is my plan for today? Okay, same as task, just a different use case. All right. So now with that in mind, that I'm creating a day planner and I'm going to put in my plans for the day. Okay, I have to create the APIs that correspond to my CRUD operations. Okay, let's start with the get APIs. All right, what am I going to call my APIs? How many get APIs do I need? 2. Why do I need 2? Remember we discussed get APIs. You have to have 2 get APIs. Anybody remember? So I'm creating a API that returns me that is related to day planner. I'm going to short and I'm going to call it plans. Am I following the convention? I am. I have /API in the beginning, and then I have a plural noun, which is plans, and that's what my APIs are going to be called. Okay? What does the API get API plans is returning? JSON what? What data type is it returning? It is returning JSON. What's the data type inside the JSON? Plans. It's not going to return an object. Remember, it returns a collection, an array. Your get/API/plans, the intention you are saying is, when I call this API, it should return me all the plans. Doesn't matter how many there are, it should return all of them. Okay? Now, if I want a single plan, it's going to be get/API/plans and then :ID. All right, so I need to have 2 get APIs. The first one is going to return me a collection. Okay, at this point, our collection is array, so it's going to return me an array. The second get request with an ID is going to return me a single data element, which is an object. Okay, it's going to return me just one object. Why? Because I'm passing in an ID, and I know in my database the ID is unique, so I'm only ever going to get a single object. Okay, by standard, that's how you create an API. All right, let's go on to our post one. What is the post one going to be called? What's going to be the route for the post API? Exactly the same as this one. /API/plans. Okay. What is the intention behind the post request? I'm inserting data in my database. Okay, how do I pass in the database in my post request? Oh, how do I pass in data in my post request? JSON, but is it part of, remember the get where the ID is, what do we call? We call it params, right? I'm passing my parameters on my URL. So basically those are called URL parameters. Okay. How do I pass in data inside my post request? We just did it. Did somebody say body? All right, we pass when we are creating a post request, we are passing the data in the body. Okay, there is no other place you are going to pass the data. So the URL is going to be the same. The only thing is the data is going to be in the body somewhere. We'll take a look at it and we'll do. But remember, post request data is not on the URL, it's on inside the body, right? You cannot see it. All right, let's talk about put request. What does put do? Updates. What does the high level, what is the query that runs in the database to update? Don't have to, yeah, update and update what? Update set something where ID, right? It has to match that ID and you're saying, hey, update this data for this ID. Okay, so I need ID and I need data. So how do I pass in the ID? And then how do I pass in the data in my put request? Slash API, same naming standard, right? I need the ID. So I need to pass in the ID. And then I need data as well. So your put request has both a query parameter, which is going to be an ID, and also a body. Okay, and what is the body going to contain? Body is going to contain the data that you are going to be updating. Do you guys understand? Now remember the post request, you're sending the data, whole data in the body, right? Same in your update request. The only thing additional is your ID because you are saying, hey, update with this new data where the ID is equal to this one so that it exactly knows which row to go and update. Okay, get request, the first one, no parameters, no body, it's going to return a collection. The second get request, query params as an ID, it's going to return a single object. Post, nothing in the URL, everything in the body. Put, you need an ID in the URL and a body as well. Okay, what about delete? Any guesses what delete looks like? Huh?
Similar API.
Okay, similar to which one? Ah, yes, it is exactly the same as your get. So it is going to be API slash plans and then ID. Again, why do I need this? Because I'm saying exactly go to this ID and delete that row, right? This is the only unique identifier. I don't care about the body. I don't worry about anything else. This is the ID I'm going to pass in, and it's going to go to the database, pick this ID, and it's going to say delete from table where ID is equal to that. Okay? These are API standards, and you should have. There might be a case you are like, well, I don't need a get request, but please, at least in this course, make sure you have all these, at least 6 APIs. Okay, get in the habit of creating these APIs. By standard, if you look at any third-party APIs, you will see all of them provide these APIs. That's kind of standard, and that's what everybody is expecting, that you will have APIs with this naming convention. Okay, you see slash API slash plans. If it is a get, no parameters. If it has an ID, it returns you single object. Put, delete, and post. Okay? Any questions? Any clarification that I can make right now? Please ask. Otherwise, it's code. Again, coding is simpler if you understand what the concept is. It's going to get difficult if you don't understand what this is. We are going to just map the exact same thing into our code, and we'll see. Behind these are your database queries. All right, you can look up these database queries for update and delete. That's not a big deal, but this is important. Do you understand that? How do you create APIs in your backend? Questions? Everybody understand post, put, and delete? Those are Well, we haven't looked at it. That's what I'm asking. All of them are important, but we have been using get a lot, but we haven't. We touch base on post, but not really put and delete. But those are the APIs. Okay. Remember, put will take both an ID and a body. Post just a body. Delete just an ID, and get have two routes. Okay. Now these are standards, and when you create a API, a RESTful API, you're going to expose them with the correct HTTP method. Again, can you mess it up? Can I do a delete? Can I do a delete in my GET request? Yes, you can. The code is not going to stop you. Nobody is going to stop you. Okay. Is it wrong? It is. It is wrong. Please don't do that. But again, these are standards that have been created. There's no check. Like your code is not going to give you an error. It's going to behave exactly. You can create all these requests just using a post request. I can do a get request in my post. I can do a put in my post. It doesn't matter. Okay. I'm just telling you not to confuse you, but these are the standards that are laid out. But there's no code behind it that is making that check. It's up to us when we create our API that we follow this. Behind the scenes, behind the code, you can do anything you want. It's not going to. There's no error, no compilation error. The code is not going to stop you in doing anything. Okay. But these are just the standards that have been laid out. Okay. All right. Any questions? Everybody understand all the four HTTP methods, all the four operations? Well, actually 5. No questions? Two get, and then did I count them wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, because of two get. Yeah, because of two gets and then the other 3. So every time you create your project, you develop an APIs, make sure you have all 5 of them. Do you need all 5 of them? Maybe or maybe not. But that's the expectation, that's the standard, to make sure you expose all 5 methods. Okay? No questions? The next is just the coding part. So I'm going to code all 5 of these APIs for my planner. Okay? All right, so my example, same as the task one. This is the planner one. Same code. I have my database with 2 columns, ID and varchar. Okay, and my server has my boilerplate code. I'm importing my libraries, starting my port number. I'm going to be using a post request, of course, so that's why I have this. I have my handlebars, I have my connection, and then I'm connecting over here at the bottom, and then my server is listening. Okay, same thing. I'm going to minimize this, and then I'm going to start creating my APIs. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is, it's better we will just stub them out, just the signature, just the method, and then we will come back and we will fill those methods with the code. Okay, so for example, the first one, I'm going to create my first API, so it's going to be app.get, right? And the name would be /API/plans. Okay, and then a function rec and res. Okay. All right, that's my first API. Let's stub the second one out. It's going to be app.get. And this is going to be same thing, /API/plans, but this time is going to have an ID. Okay. And then a callback function, rec and res. Okay. If you like this way, I would recommend, kind of coding it out in a similar fashion for the activity that you guys will do. Okay. This is my second API. The third one is going to be my post. I'm going to create a post one. Okay. Same URL as my first one. Okay. Rec and res. Okay. So you can see the signature, the API URL, still the same because it's the post request. It's a totally different request. Okay. Let's stub out the put. It's going to be put request. slash API slash plans, and then I need an ID. Oops. Slash ID, and then a callback function with recognize. Okay, last one, app.delete. So you will see that Express has all these functions given to you. App.delete, URL is going to be slash API slash plans, and then I need to pass in an ID. Request. Okay. So that's how I would recommend starting at the next activity. What you do, stub them out so that you can actually see what you need to build out. So I need to build these 5 routes now. Okay, any questions? Good. Okay, so let's complete the first one. First one, same as the previous one, you'll have a select query. Let me see. Let me connect and make sure this is yeah, okay, so my code is good, it's running. All right, so what do I need? I need my query, const SQL query is equal to select star from plans. Okay, connection dot query. The first one would be SQL query, and then a callback function which is going to return me an error and results. Okay, if there is any error, so this is an API. If any error occurs, we need to know the client that something bad happened. Okay, when you're creating an API, it's best practice to, if there's any error, please let the client know, the calling person know. Basically, your browser is going to call your API. If something bad happens, please let them know that, okay, something happened, I was not able to process this request. Okay, for this, we would do is we will say, I think this will work too, res dot status. We discussed this a little bit before, that there are some standard HTTP statuses that they're basically 3-digit codes that you can send back, and your browser knows those codes. For example, remember the 404? 404 means not found. Your browser understands that code. This one is called 500. 500 basically means that something bad happened on the server, which is this thing, and your request was not able to be processed. Okay, just let the browser know, hey, something bad happened and I was not able to run this query. Okay, so set the status as 500, which means server error, and then end your request, no further. Okay, if this was successful, what we are going to do, we are going to send our JSON back because this is an API, and then we will send results, which is going to be an array. Okay, good. Questions? Pretty straightforward, simple. Now, if you go back to your local host, which is running on 3000, and I say slash plans, it shows me, oh, what is wrong over here? Slash API slash plans. Okay. Oh, that also doesn't work. All right, cannot get. What am I missing? Let's go back to your browser. Oh, no errors. Running on 3000. Am I running on 3000? Yes. Am I running the right server? Task. Oh no, that's why. I'm in my wrong file. I am in my old example. Let's go back to the planner. Oh, so I don't have anything installed. Let's see, nodemon. There we go. Okay, let's go back here, refresh, and there's my data. Right now I just have one row inside my database. Okay, so API plans get request shows me data back. Next, we will complete the next one. Now this time it's going to be the query with the where clause. So let's go back and copy the same query and then modify this. Okay, let's say where question mark and then set our query. Oops, what is this? Query param is equal to is going to be an object, and what do I need to pass in? I need to pass that ID, right? It's going to say select start from plans where what is my schema? Plan underscore ID is equal to this ID. Okay, so it's going to be plan underscore ID, same as my column name. And how do I get this ID out? Request, and then dot params dot ID. Okay, this name should match exactly as this one. Okay, so this is my connection query. You can use exactly this thing. Let's see if this requires any changes. Oh, it does. So I'm going to do a connection.query function. Okay. So connection.query, pass in this query, my query param. Well, I need to pass my query param. So this is going to be my query param. Okay. Error results. Any other changes do I need to do over here? There's something I'm missing. Something wrong. What is it returning? It is returning what? Right. What is inside my JSON? Results. And what is the data type for results? Array. And should I be returning an array? No, I should be returning a single object. So how do I return a single object? No, results.0. Yeah, my results array has all the results. I just need one. When you run this query, it's 100% going to return you one record. But remember, if you don't remember, please go back and do the MySQL activities. It's always going to return you a result. It just be wrapped around. It will just have one object inside it. Okay. So if I go back to this one, my plan ID is 1. So if I call this with 1, it returns me an object. Okay. If I don't put in any ID, it should return me an array, and there's my array. Right now it just has 1. We'll see how to add some more. All right, let's do the post one. What does post do? It's going to do a insert query. Let's copy this. So this is going to be, I don't know why I copied this. It doesn't really help me. Insert into, my table name is called plans set question mark. Okay, and then post request is going to have a body. All right, and the body will contain the object that I'm trying to insert. So what am I trying to insert into my plans? I don't need the ID, it is auto generated. I just need this thing, plan. Okay, so I'm going to put my column name, plan, and then how do I get the data in my post request? So in my get, I have rec.params.id. How do I get my data in my post request? The first one. Where does the data come in my post request? Body, in the body. So it's going to, not response, it's going to be request, right? Everything is coming in request. Response is what you are sending it back. So request dot body and then plan. Okay, do we have this defined anywhere else? No. Remember from my previous activity, this is coming from the UI, right? So from the UI, you have to create an object called plan and then send this back. Right now we don't have it. We create the APIs first, and then we dictate this, and we tell the front end that, hey, this is the API. Now you need to follow this. Okay. If you talk to a front end person, they're going to say they do it first, and they tell the back end. Since I'm a back end developer, so I'm saying we do it first, and we tell the front end. Okay. So we define this first, and we tell the front end, hey, if you want to use my post request, you need to send me an object called plan. Okay. Connection.query and run this query. Connection.query going to be my SQL query. Okay, and then I'm passing in my plan object that I have defined. Oops, over here. Okay, it has to be an object, and then a callback function, same as my get request, error, and results, even though we'll see what results has. If there's any error, let's do this. Okay, and then what do we send back? Rest.json. It has to return something. Anybody remember the ID that comes back over here? I think I did this in previous classes. Okay, so when you do insert, your results object is going to have a property called insert ID. I'm not sure if you guys remember that. So we can send that ID back, and that's the ID for the newly inserted row. So you can say, hey, send this JSON back with results dot insert ID. Oops. If you don't remember, again, please go back and look at the MySQL activities. You will see when we are making a create request, this results, this property will be filled with the new ID that it creates. Okay, right now in my database, I have just one ID called plan. When I insert a new one, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it is successfully completed, it's going to return the new ID in this property. And just for by standards, our API should be giving us something back. So we are saying, hey, this is the new ID that was inserted. This assures the browser that everything was successful. If this insert ID is empty, this means something happened or it was not able to insert that ID. All right, any questions? So that's our post request. Okay, no questions? So let me go ahead and minimize this, minimize this. So we did a 3. Let's go back to our put request. Now put request has ID in the URL parameters, and then also it's going to have a body, right? Body is going to be the object, the new data that you're trying to update based on that ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our SQL query for update. What is it? Update table name, set this thing where ID is equal to something. Okay, so since we have 2 placeholders, it's going to be an array of parameters. Query params with an S, and this is going to be an array. Again, why is it going to be an array? Because it is expecting more than one object. Okay, so it's going to be an array of basically 2 objects. So what is going to be my first object? Set the data, right? For example, in my database, the column is called plan. So I'm trying to update this data based on this ID. Okay, so similar to my post request, okay, I'm going to create this thing, right? Because my data is going to come in the body. Remember, your update is sending data in the URL and the body as well. Body will have what you need to fill over here, the plan data. Okay, my column name is called plan, and then similar to my post request, how do you get this out? Rec.body.plan, exactly the same thing over here. So request dot body dot plan. Okay, this is my first placeholder. The second one is going to be an ID. So how do I get the ID back? And my column is called plan underscore ID, and the ID is coming in the URL, right? Same as your get request. This one. How do you get this ID? rec.params.id. Where am I? Okay. So rec.params.id. Okay. So post sends the data in your body tag body. Get sends the data in the URL. Updates has data in your body and the URL. So how do you retrieve from your, if you need a reference, if you want to retrieve anything from your body tag body, you can go back and look at your post request. How do we did this? If you want to retrieve anything from the URL in the put request, you would go back to your one of this get request over here. Okay, same thing. All right, so I have my data. Now I can go back and do connection dot query. Okay, my SQL query, and then my query params, which is an array that I just created over here. And the last one is my callback function, like the rest. It's going to be error and results. Okay. Let's go back and copy our error, same as this one. If something bad happens, let the browser know this happened. Okay. And then let's see if anything was updated. Else if, again, similar to insert ID, I can go back and look at your MySQL activities. Anybody remember the property that returns with an update request, with an update query? So I'll let you know. It's called results dot change. Oh wow, yes, excellent, Josh. Thank you. Change rows, right? Did I say that right? Okay. So if anything is updated, is going to return this property with a number, that how many rows were updated. Okay, so if it says 0, this means none of the rows were updated. This means it was not able to find a row. So you can just say rest dot status, let's say 404. It was not able to find this row in the database. Okay, if there's any error, say 500, something bad happened, I don't know. If it was not able to update any of the rows, this means it wasn't able to find a row to update. Okay, if none of this happens, just send a status back and say 200, which is success, and then say, oh, everything is good, I was able to update it, everything is fine. Okay, again, more important part, remember update has an ID in the query param, in the URL, and then it has data inside the body. So we need to send both of these. Yes. It just says success. Literally is the word success. Yeah, you can change. You can say rest.send and a message. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, you can say rest.send. I was able to update rows, something like this. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on the update? Yes.
Yeah, but if you ran all of these, would it open up like a different
So there's only one connection. And why? Because this is the only connection. So my express connection, my server is still one, and it is always listening on port number 3000. Within the server, I have like 5, 6, 7, 10 APIs. So each API, and that's why these are called REST APIs, are individual requests. They have no idea what the other request is. They all are individual and independent of each other. These are all independent requests. When a request comes into one of the APIs, it's independent of the second one or the third one. It doesn't know. And that's the standard for REST, that your request, your API should have no idea what the other API is doing or should not be sharing anything. Okay, so this request, the first GET request, has nothing to do with the second one. These two has nothing to do with your POST request, and this one has nothing to do with your PUT request. They are all independently individual requests. Yes. Yes, Raymond.
Is there ever a reason to end
No. I mean, if you end the connection, then your server basically stops. So you wouldn't be ending that connection. The only reason you would be ending is actually no reason. Yeah. It should always, because your server should always be listening, and all. If your server is listening, your database should be open. I mean, what you can do is you can end the connection here, but then you'll have to, when the second request comes in, you have to open the connection again, then close it, then open, then close it. It should be, yeah. And that's a good use case. At sometimes I have seen that when you have a lot of data and a lot of database requests, people, what they do is that once the request is complete, they close the connection, and when the second request comes in, they open the connection again. But we won't have as much traffic, so just opening the connection doesn't really bother us right now. Okay, this is if your server is heavily loaded and you are getting like thousands of requests, and every request is hitting your database. There are limitations of how many requests can hit the database, and if it reaches, your database stops responding. So in that case, what you would have to do is you would have to end the connection, then start a connection. I don't know, maybe a million requests or something. Yeah, even not a million. Actually, I think in thousands, if it happens, it's going to shut down. Yeah, your database has. It depends on your the service that you use. For example, Heroku. I'm not sure, but you can see the documentation, and they would say we only allow 10,000 requests to the server at the same time. This means the connection is open and 10,000 people have requested the data. That's what they say. 10,001, it's not going to respond. It's going to say, oh, busy, cannot do anything. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's complete our last one, which is going to be a delete. Delete doesn't have a body, so no need. It's going to be similar to our GET request. So query is delete from table name where, and then I'm going to pass in my ID. Oops, why do I keep pressing this? Okay. Let's get our ID. Query from, and my ID is going to be in the request URL in the param. So in my database it's called plan ID, so it should be the same. And then how do I extract this ID out? rec.params.id, same as your get request. So rec.params.id. Okay. Connection dot query, run this query, pass in your SQL, pass in your query param. Okay, callback function, which is going to be error and results. Okay. Let's see if I pasted the correct one. Oh yeah. Okay, if there's any error, return 500. And then for delete also there was a, Josh, do you remember for delete? Dang, yes. Wow, okay. Very impressive. Yes, it's called affected rows. If none of the rows are affected, this means that we were not able to find a row, so we can say 404 dot end my connection. Okay, if everything is good, we can just say result dot status 200 dot end, so my browser knows they were able to delete successfully. All right, so I just created all the 5 REST APIs in my server. Questions? you guys remember this. Nobody's taking notes, so I hope you remember what I just did. Yes.
Well, it's not really related to this, but somehow I was doing that with Southwest Run activity
Uh-huh.
and was doing that
Yes.
connecting to Node
Connecting to what?
Node Mail to the
Oh, node mail. Okay.
okay. And they were using instead of the tutorial instead of request dot body or request dot parent, they were using request dot query.
Request.query.
That, please.
In which API?
Not mail. Something like that.
Oh yeah, that's fine. But what were they? Where were they using it?
In a post.
Okay. So, but for you, you should only be calling the node mail API, right?
Yes, but I've seen it in others too.
Another what?
Because I tried it Fluid too, and yeah, just using Fluid too.
I didn't get the last part. What was that?
The Fluid.
Okay.
Okay.
So you are passing in this thing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
So
you
they
use the request dot query dot instead of body.
request.query.plan.
Uh-huh.
The only thing I'm confused at how are you able to see request.query.plan? Like how?
That's what we did from jQuery when we send you that post request.
So you're talking about jQuery?
Via jQuery. No, but they is using it here in the post
Right, but that's jQuery.
from.
Right. So that's jQuery. This is this jQuery?
No, they using it here. The query they using it here.
Right. So how are you able to see the code that they are using it over here? So what I'm asking is, so they're exposing an API and there's code
Okay.
behind it. So my first question, how are you able to see their code, what they are doing?
Oh, that was a
That was what?
tutorial.
Okay.
Because I was trying to do that activity to make the mail.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, they're using the.
Okay.
Right.
So let's we'll take and I'll sit with you and I'll take a look and I'll post what I see. I'm not sure. The only thing my concern is that remember this API who is creating? You are creating. Is this going to be in your browser? Nobody else can see this code, right? Only you can see this code. So if you're using a third-party API, the only thing is you should be able to access this, and that's all. Now they might be calling it they might be giving it any name that's different. So that's why I'm a little bit confused, but that's okay. We'll come back to it. I'll sit and I'll post what we see. What is it?
They're using it, yeah.
Okay, so they are doing something different. We will take a look at it. It's probably the way they have created the APIs, but it's different from the code. They are definitely not going to show you the code that's going on. They will give you the API, how to use it. They might be calling it query, would be here or something. We'll take a look at it. Okay? Any questions on this part though? Good. Okay, so this was the main thing. Let's. I'm going to create my handlebars and call these APIs, and then so that we can use them and see how they are being used. But this is your APIs. Okay. So let's go ahead and create our first HTML one because if I go to the main page, it doesn't show anything, right? So I need my this route. Rec res. Okay, so that I can go back to my main route. This is going to be the same as let's just get this. Like when somebody comes to my main page, I'm going to run this query, and then I'm going to similar to my get request. I'm going to run this, but this time I'm not going to send the JSON back, right? Because I'm sending something else back. Since I'm using handlebars, I need to send something related to handlebars. Okay. Render first would be a page. I don't. Oh, I do. So I'm going to use my plan headers. I don't have anything. I just have the layout. Okay. So I'm going to call this plan method, and then pass in the array. I'm going to call it plans. This is going to be my results. And then similar to the previous activity, we will go over here and then we will just use our each loop through the array and then show our things over here. So let me just copy some of the things. I have my header. I have my UL. I'm looping through the data hash each. It's called plans. Okay, slash each. And then I'm just creating my LIs, some p tags, and then show the, let's say, plan underscore ID. And then I'll put a stop so that it shows like one dot and what the plan is. Okay, just to show the things together at the same time. Let's go back to our main and let's see if this runs. Okay, so you have one dot and it shows. So I'm just combining the ID and the plan name. Okay, let's do our post request. So we will do the same thing that we did in the previous activity. Let's say create a plan. Okay, we'll create a form and then give it a what did we use? Text area. Okay, type is equal to text, and then name is equal to plan, and then add a button where type is equal to submit, and let's say save plan. Okay. Now you can put your post request over here, right? And it's going to do something, but we'll change it about. All right. So we in the previous example we saw using form, action, and post, but this time we have a slash post? We don't. Instead we have an API. Okay. So this API we need to use jQuery and call this API so that it posts the data. Okay. So in our form, instead of doing the previous way, we are going to call our API from JavaScript. So let's say give it an ID, create plan. Okay. So here comes the jQuery part. So let's go ahead and add some jQuery. Let's go back over here. Okay. So let me find my jQuery link. Okay, title, my script. Let's go ahead and add some JavaScript. I'm going to create a folder called JS, and then I'm going to say plan.js, and in my main handlebar I'm going to call this source. So this is main handlebars. I need to go one level up and come into JS. So /js /plan. Okay, again, this is just HTML. I'm adding my JavaScript files to it. All right, so let's go back over here. This is my plan.js. Inspect. Oh, not found. Let's go back to the server. Did I add a... I'm missing the... What am I missing? I'm missing the static part. So let's go ahead and add our static content. So my static is going to be views. Okay. All right, remember this is required if you have your JavaScript separated from your handlebars or HTML file. Let's refresh, and that's all good now. Let's go back here, and then we will say, did I add my, where's my jQuery? Let's say dollar document dot ready. Okay, function and nothing. Okay. Let's see. So what's the first thing we need to do? We need to when I enter something, I'm going to save the plan, and then it should show up over here. Okay, so I'm going to make the dollar. Oh my god, this is ID. What did I call? I think I called it create plan. Okay, create plan dot on, and this time it is submit button. So on submit. Okay, callback function. I need the event because I need it to do the event dot prevent default because I'm going to post it using jQuery. Okay. So post request, it requires a body, and the body should have an object called plan. Okay. And so let's create that object in our jQuery. Okay. And the object should have plan. And how do I get the text in jQuery? It is this ID and this name. So ID is this, and then I'm trying to retrieve the data from the text where the name is plan. Okay, they should give you .val. Okay, again, this is just I'm not sure if you guys use this in jQuery, but basically it is saying go to this ID, find the element called where the name is plan, which is going to be this one, and get the text, whatever the user types the text over here. Okay, just one of the jQuery methods. And then I have my plan, then I can do my post request. So I will say dollar, I'm going to say .ajax, $.ajax dot then. Okay, my ajax request is going to be URL. Since this is the post one, so I'm going to say slash plans. Okay, and then the first thing I need to pass in is my method, which is going to be post, and then the data, which is going to be this thing, an object. Okay, I hope you guys are not forgetting your jQuery. If you think this is weird, please go back and look at the Ajax method. Look at the post one. It's kind of same syntax that we've been using for our post request. Okay. What does then do? Then returns a callback function with the data, but we are not really interested. We will just say console log and say new plan created, and then just reload our page. Reload location dot reload. Okay, one of the JavaScript methods. What it does is it's going to refresh your page. Once the page is refreshed, what should happen? It should go back, call my get request, this one, and then it should show my new plan. If this works, let's refresh. Let's open our cons. Let's see. Continue activity. Ugh. I was hoping it worked the first time. Alright, let's try to debug and see. Uncaught exception in token, this thing unplanned.js. Thank you. What else? Why do I keep putting semicolons in my object? All right. Let's see. Let's go back here. Okay. Complete. There it is. You see? Went back and it's added. Another plan, and then it's added again. Okay, so this is my post request. This is again your jQuery, so it's kind of like becoming a full stack app. Okay, so we have our front end, we have our APIs. Now we are connecting our front end to that. Okay, let's see if we can update this as well. So how do I do the update? Oh, this is I'll still code this out so that this is on video so you guys can see how this is going on. But you created a plan. Now I want to update a plan that already exists in my database. So let's go ahead and create a plan. Create a form. Okay, give it an ID and say update plan. Okay. I'm going to create what I was thinking was going to create a drop down which has all the plan that are already there. Okay. Has anybody used the select in HTML? Creates a drop down, or in Bootstrap? It creates a drop down menu. Let me show you how it does. Let's give it a name. Let's say ID. Option. Again, if you haven't look at W3 schools, select and options. This basically creates a drop down. I'll show you how it renders. Basically, it takes these options, each value, and in the drop down you will see each one of them. So what I'm trying to do is I'm creating a drop down with all the plans that are already existing in my database. Okay. When you are setting, you need a attribute called value, which should be an ID, which should be a unique ID. Okay, now what is the unique ID for us? It's the plan ID. Okay, and then do I have access to plan ID? I do. So all I have to do is do this thing. Okay, let's see how do we pass these things in this page. And then create a text area kind of similar to this one so that I can update something, name plan, and then create a submit button just like your request, and say update plan. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm missing a plan because I missed out my loop. Where's my loop? So I have to loop through this thing so that I have access to these plans exactly like this one. Missed out on this one. So I'm going to loop through my plans, and each plan is going to have a plan ID just like this one over here. Instead of I'm using LIs to do over here, this time we are just doing a drop down menu. Let's see if this works. Okay, so you see what happened? It shows me as soon as I add something over here, it shows me in my drop down over here. So if I say add another plan, it shows me directly over here. Okay, again, what it is doing, same thing as your create over here. You are putting it and then updating it, looping through them and then setting the select and options. Okay, now these select and options, if you don't get it, please look at the W3 spoons. Pretty common, it creates a drop down. Okay, so this is the drop down that it creates using the select one. Okay, now I still didn't get time to do the update and delete. I'll see if I can do it next time. Otherwise, I'm going to post the solution, but the update is going to be kind of similar to this one. Before you look at the solution, look at the create plan, make sure you understand the post, and then see if you can do that update on your own. It's going to be same Ajax plans. The only thing different over here is going to be the method is going to be put instead of post. Okay, try to see if you can complete this activity and the next one. So there are two practice activities. Please make sure before the last class to at least take a look at the solution and the activity. Okay. All right, so I'll see you guys on Thursday. I'll post the solution, and then make sure you guys go ahead and work on this activity.